Samuel Lee from Tacoma, Washington. Thank you, Dr. Brian Chappell, for sharing the message. It really warms our heart. It feeds, nourishes the preacher's soul. As we hear the seminar from Dr. Brian Chappell, we learn, I think, that it's not about just what kind of message that we will share, but what kind of preacher or what kind of person we are becoming. I believe God is more interested in, rather than what message that we preach, but we actually become the messenger who embodies the message. And my great story is how God molded and shaped me through pain and suffering. And because of my own foolishness and my own pride, just external circumstances and situation coming toward me wasn't enough, that it came really close. 7 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, gallbladder cancer, stage 3, which means mortality rate of 85% within 1 year. It was gallbladder and spreading, that's what it means. So she had to have we flew her out to Samsung Medical Center in Seoul. She received a surgery, not just removing gallbladder, but the gallbladder is attached to liver, so you give enough margin to cut out, so that just in case if anything was spreading during first surgery, you want to cut it out. And the surgeon was very experienced surgeon. He saw some of the lymph tissues also looked suspicious, so he took out 8 strips. Out of 8 strips, 3 found the cancer cells metastasis. So that's stage 3. So he said surgery went well, but you're going to have her go through cancer treatment, chemo and radiation. We will seek chemo and radiation in Seattle. And he said, Mister, if you want to see your wife live, do it here. We attend international conferences, the university medical centers in Seoul in this particular disease. We are 3 years ahead of Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins because we just have so much experience. And I had to consult with the elder Lee back home in Seattle. And Dr. Lee said, Pastor Lee, stay in Seoul. Let her receive treatment. So after major surgery, 11 days in the hospital, released, she needs to regain health before radiation and chemo. So she will begin the treatment starting from May. So I had my son and a daughter who was in college, have them come out to Seoul and stay with us. I watched her going through chemo and radiation and just suffering. Her white blood cell count came down to 8. You're supposed to have at least 5,000 to 8,000. When you begin chemo and radiation, a lot of your white blood cells die off, meaning you don't have immune system. So you can't go to places where people congregate. You can't pick up germs. Dr. Lee back home was telling me, Pastor Lee, tell your son and a daughter go and stay with grandpa and grandma because they use public transit. If they pick up germs from bus or metro, your wife will be in danger. She was not allowed to go to a place where people congregate. So one Sunday, the first Sunday, she came down with this. She couldn't go to church. She wasn't strong. Her hair was falling off. Her immune system was down. She can't be near even a person who's coughing. So she stayed home and watched preachers on television. But it just didn't nourish her soul. She said, next Sunday, I'm going to church. Whether I live or die, I'm going to church. So she was suffering. I'm helping her from the side. And there's nothing I can do because like when she's throwing up nauseous. Even the medication she's taking to calm the nausea, she's throwing up with water. And we were living in small one room, 4 people living in one room. It helps your sanctification in great measure. And she went through the chemo and cancer therapy, and she was recuperating. The church gave me 3 months sabbatical, so we were staying there. And of course, living in such a small, tight space with children, grown-up children who's been to college. Now in small one room, we clash. And my son and I had an argument. He just came back from YWAM's DTS in Singapore, and so he heard certain messages on Father Heart, Father's love. And during the seminars that he was in, he would call international, Dad, thank you. I was not the easiest child to raise. So I thought there was some healing relationship going on, but as we were living in tight spaces, some of the hurts and wounds came out. My son is older, my daughter's younger. For my daughter, as soon as she was born, there was unconditional acceptance and love. I know my daughter, if she receives a lot of my love, she will become an attractive person in her soul. But for my boy, he's a child of an immigrant. I know he had to work twice as hard. I came to United States as a high school senior. I came to Flushing. I went to Flushing High School for 11th and 12th grade and went on to college. So I'm 1.5, went through the difficult time of the immigrant stage. And here I am. I want my son to be able to make it. So rather than being accepting and affirming and encouraging, I was harsh. I was demanding. So 20 years later, this is coming out. And he says, Dad, you don't have a father's heart. You don't reflect Heavenly Father's heart. You're not fit to preach. I was scheduled to preach at another church in Seoul. I was invited as a guest speaker. This is happening Saturday night. I'm arguing with my son, and my son says, Dad, you are not fit to preach. I fought with him. I slammed the door, went out. This was in Ilsan. I went to Ilsan Hosbong on the lake. This was 12 o'clock at midnight. The park bench. I just lay down and look at the sky with it. God, who am I? I'm a hypocrite. Even my own child, my own son says I'm not fit to preach. And here I am. I'm scheduled to preach at a Presbyterian church here in downtown Seoul. And I had to do deep soul searching. Before he went to UCLA, there was a time I actually knelt down before him, Son, I made a lot of mistakes, and you are leaving home, and I want you to forgive me. I thought we made amends, but my heart, my attitude, there are places where it didn't change yet. And God was using my son to bring these places that I need to bring before God in humility, to truly reflect Father's heart. It broke me that night. And how do you preach when your own son says you're not fit to preach? Not the message that you will bring. Only Christ and his mercy and his grace. And even some things that you are not even qualified. The message of Christ that you present as an unworthy servant. So I think God is interested in molding each one of us as a messenger of the gospel, as those who will truly embody not just the learning the techniques and some of the knowledge, no, but our ethos and our affection are so transformed that we truly embody and reflect the grace of God, the Father heart of God. And this is where I stand as those who are asking God to grant me greater revelation